Some sad associations here, Watson. You called it the case of the serrated scalpel, I believe.
Yes, a heart-wrenching business. But in the end, a job well done. The Brumwells are all deceased. I wonder if the staff stayed on.
I doubt it. They were lifetime retainers to the family. The Brumwell butler was a trial. Pettigrew, wasn't it?
Pettigrew by name, petulant by nature.
Fine conceit, Doctor. And even better if he's still about. We'd like to speak with Sir Avery, please. Is he available?
I'm not his man Friday. I imagine he's roaming somewhere with Hodgkins. Who knows? It's wrong to ask a lady questions she doesn't know the answers to. Ask me something I know.
That might be difficult.
It's most aggravating. You're certain you haven't come from that charming Sloane Street gallery? I have more brilliant ideas for improving the foyer.
May I speak with Pettigrew, please?
Pettigrew receives callers on his own time. Sunday afternoons. Use the servants' entrance. Was there something else?
Watson, please give me your sense of Lady Fanshawe.
She is what I believe the Americans call dizzy.
Well said, whatever it means.
It means confused, flighty, and credulous in the extreme.
That suggests a line of attack. Lady Fanshawe, I must speak with Pettigrew to make delivery arrangements.
You are from that art gallery. I knew it. Oh, I so love a surprise.
This will be a rather large one.
What is it? What is it? Oh, Avery, such a dear. I won't tell him you told.
I mustn't, Lady Fanshawe. I've said too much already. The sooner I speak to Pettigrew, the sooner I can deliver.
Pettigrew! Come this instant. Au revoir, gentlemen. I won't say goodbye. Pettigrew!
Do you remember us, Pettigrew?
Try as I might to forget, Mr. Holmes, I do.
Your manners were perhaps lost in the effort. Never mind. Let's avoid a bad start. Is Sir Avery available?
No. Lucky man is rarely about when Lady Fanshawe is, and she's always here.
Where does Sir Avery spend his time? Away from the ministry?
I don't know. If that's all, you may leave a card if you wish.
My business is urgent, Pettigrew. One of his colleagues has died horribly.
Death seems to follow you about, Mr. Holmes. A combination of occupational hazard and bad luck, I imagine.
Have your joke, Pettigrew. I'm not the one wearing the clown suit. Please don't allow personal enmity to colour your judgment. I need your help.
Helping you, Mr. Holmes, rarely helps me. Have you noticed?
I purposefully kept your name from the Brumwell debacle. I don't say you were an accomplice, but Lestrade believed you had guilty knowledge of your employer's scheme. Do not repay me with animosity. You owe me none.
The sting of Lord Brumwell's demise is still fresh. I apologize. when Sir Avery is not at what he calls his work. He can usually be found snoozing at the Diogenes Club or feeding the birds in St. James Park.
Hello, Charles. We're not interrupting.
Just finishing up, Sherlock. How's your brother? Dreadful accident. Coming round, is he?
Out of immediate danger, thank you. You remember my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson?
Of course. Hello, Doctor. Make yourselves comfortable in the loosest meaning of the word. I'll be with you in a moment.
You've assembled a remarkable group of character portraits.
They are open, if slightly smeared, windows onto our capricious times.
I keep a collection for similar purposes, mostly criminal subjects.
And the small posters are my rogues exhibit, villains all.
The portrait of Kropotkin is revealing.
Admirable man. His major weakness is prophesying war every next fortnight.
Even anarchists need a hobby, I suppose. This small portrait is distinctive. Who is it? Or more to the point, what is it?
Well observed. That was and may well be Louis-Baptiste Gautier, the terrorist absconded from the Paris cells without a trace in 1857.
Very interesting. An artist has introduced age to the image of the younger man's face, so he might be recognized if he reappeared.
Exactly. My artist drew on the old picture and then photographed his work.
He's a clever craftsman, your artist. Who is he?
Nigel Hemmings, illustrator and portrait artist by training, first rate. No one would buy his painting, so he took up photography.
The posters are very well drawn. Same artist?
Yes, Hemmings says the American police call them mug shots.
Peculiar expression. Some of these must be extrapolations from old photos, adding beards and wrinkles and so on.
Yes, and others are subjects I've seen and described. With a first-person account, he can age a man, get his expression right, that sort of thing.
Scotland Yard could benefit from his skill.
You're right, of course, but would they? I heard Lestrade say Bertillon's system of criminal identification was a bunch of foreign nonsense. He takes so badly to new methods.
Don't I know it? I'm trying to identify a man, Charles. Might I explore your memory?
You can try. I assume your inquiry is confidential?
Acute as ever. The man figures somehow in the murder of a civil servant. Secrets of state are at risk.
What does he look like?
I've never seen him, but one who did says he's thickly built, fair, with a small discoloration on his bearded face, perhaps a birthmark. He was wearing a dark slouch hat and cape, and he speaks German.
Language is not decisive. He could be German, Austrian, Prussian, Hungarian, Polish, even Russian. Anything else?
Regrettably, no. The witness' vantage point and the lack of light made expression and gait unremarkable. He couldn't even guess at his age.
No one springs to mind, Sherlock. Or rather, 10 men do, but are they in England? Is he a criminal, a secret agent, a diplomat? With so little to differentiate them, I'm useless, I'm afraid.
With such meagre details, my hopes were not high.
Give me particulars, man, then maybe I can help. Or if not me, someone I know.
Might I have young Hemming's address?
He's a staff photographer for the Standard.
I would prefer a less public audience.
Oh, yes, of course. You can often find him in his garret at 14 Montague Street, just across from the British Museum.
Do you still have associates whom you trust at the Home Office?
Ah, you suspect the involvement of a foreign power, don't you? Yes, I was thinking along those lines myself. Listen, when you discover the man's identity, I can introduce you to someone who might help.
Thank you, Charles.
A pleasure to see you, Sherlock. You're always onto something intriguing.
Have you heard anything about terrorist involvement in the Diogenes explosion?
Not a whisper. It was an accident, certainly, wasn't it?
To say I hope so would be as unseemly as it would be insincere. But if you've heard nothing, let it be.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Holmes. I've heard of you. I'm just trying this film. With you in Alphamo.
I saw your work at Friedman's. It's exceptional. Would you make a mug shot of someone for me?
Simple as pie. Let's start with a facial shape. Round, oblong, heart-shaped? You get the idea.
I've actually never seen the subject, just heard him described.
Not enough, Mr. Holmes. Without a witness, I can't do better than a caricature. You can't keep me to rights, you see. Tell me the nose is too wide and such like. I'm sorry.
I need your help, Mr. Needham. Will you come with us, please?
Why this time?
A picture artist needs you to describe the man you saw at the Needle. The third man. I wouldn't expect you to do it for free.
Oh, that's all right then. A commission, like. As long as the brute don't know it's me what described him, he had a dangerous aspect.
Brought the eyes, have you? Be right with you.
Does the work of a professional photographer appeal to you, Needham?
What would I have to do, Mr. Holmes?
They'd pay you to look at certain things and take pictures with a camera.
Most of what I see, I'd rather forget. Would they pay me to forget?
Not for what you've seen, sir. Unfortunately, no one would pay for that. This is Mr. Needham. He has seen the person I want drawn.
Excellent. You and I will get busy. Perhaps you'll occupy yourself, Mr. Holmes.
Needham, please describe the gentleman you saw in profile at the embankment. The third man.
I can't add nothing to what I already told you, Mr. Holmes.
A tall man with an unkempt beard and a stain of some sort on his left cheek, correct?
That's him.
Perhaps you could give us a moment alone, Mr. Holmes? We'll put something together.
Oh, sorry. Of course. I'll look about, shall I? How would you evaluate Needham's powers of observation?
Acute. He was clear on the facial structure and proportions, cast of the eyes and position of the ears. There are some problems, but we muddled through. Wonder if the stain is a scar.
That's an intriguing thought. May I take the drawing with me?
Of course. Hope it helps.
Ah, yes, he was among my candidates. The beard is new, probably false. He has dark hair. You're moving in consequential circles, Sherlock. Colonel Erich Merlendorf, alias Wachthund, the guard dog. He's Prussian, of course. The facial stain is a distinctively horrible dueling scar. Only a fraction of it shows here. It's huge, and he wears it like an angry mask.
Who is he?
Principal agent and factotum of the German Imperial Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck. Fiercely loyal to his employer's interests and protective of his reputation. A very cold customer. What's he doing in London, I wonder?
No good, I assure you. Is he an official agent of Imperial Germany?
Not exactly. But I've invited an old friend to join us who can address that issue. Given your previous remarks and our shared suspicions, I thought he might be helpful. Is that a problem?
No, I'm grateful. Your discretion and judgment in such matters is unquestioned.
Carter, would you come in, please? Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, Fairfax Carter, Home Office Attaché.
I've heard your name from Mycroft, sir. Friedman has filled you in?
As he was able. Might you put us more in the picture?
No. Mycroft has requested secrecy. I shall respect that. Reputations are at stake. The nation's security, maybe. If I fail, you should know all. If I succeed, you will learn no more than you know now. Can we deal on that basis?
I am not entirely without other sources of information, as I think you know. Your commitment to your brother's cause is commendable.
You presumably heard us speaking of Colonel Merlendorf?
I did.
It must be assumed that this Prussian is involved in an operation hostile to British interests. Is it possible he has the Kaiser's blessing and the sanction of the German imperial government?
I don't believe so. I fervently hope not. He would not risk it. He would not do it.
Your reasons?
The Kaiser is trying to curb the power and influence of his bitter rival, the domineering Imperial Chancellor Otto von Bismarck.
Explain, please.
Wilhelm has been courting favor throughout Europe, separating himself from Bismarck's aggressive policies. Discovery of such an operation would undermine his efforts to establish his own authority and demolish the progress he has made in repairing Bismarck's damage. Besides, he is currently well disposed toward his mama, the Empress Frederick, who despises the Chancellor. Finally, he would risk the displeasure of his grandmama, Queen Victoria, and his cousins at this critical time.
If it's not an official operation, what might the Prussians' motives be?
I cannot say with assurance, but I would hazard that whatever he is doing here is intended to enhance the Chancellor's position with the German military and re-establish his dominance over the Emperor.
I see. Merlendorf is Bismarck's creature, not the Kaiser's.
Exactly.
Can you help me gain access to the Kaiser? I know he's in London.
I could arrange an interview. The Kaiser, as it happens, is familiar with your name and reputation, but this would be strictly a personal affair. The government must not be suspected of having any official involvement in your inquiry.
That's understood. You'll inform us of a time and place?
I'll send a message to your lodgings.
What kind of man is the Kaiser?
Not brilliant, but he's keen and energetic. Has the regrettable habit of speaking of himself in the third person, convinced that he belongs to a distinct order of mankind, designated for monarchy by the grace of God.
And Bismarck wants to put his thumb in the eye of that belief.
Correct. As a boy, he imitated Bismarck as an act of parental defiance. Now he's alarmed the Chancellor by imitating Frederick the Great. In the end, we believe him fundamentally wiser and more progressive than Bismarck. They'll certainly come to blows, and given your inquiry, may have done already.
Milady will receive you following her offering to the musical deities. Please give her a moment to compose herself. Oh, she's most vexed, as they must be from the sound of it. I believe you've exhausted your admiration for that portrait, Mr. Holmes. Put it down.
We have interrupted your practice session, Lady Lockridge. My apologies.
I will not satisfy your vanity, Mr. Holmes, by asking how you knew what I was doing. What do you want?
Civility would be welcome.
I had hoped your uninvited visit would be a pleasant interruption for my battle with Mozart. Alter your tone and my girl will show you the door.
Felicitations are in order, I believe. You are affianced to Lord Lawton?
He has that honour. Your visit concerns him.
I'm investigating a sensitive matter which came before his ministry committee. Lawton was unable to assist me. I thought you might be able to help.
An official investigation? Has he done something improper or dishonourable?
Lord Lawton is not the object of my investigation. I currently have no allegations to bring.
His reputation cannot stand a single sniff of scandal. I won't hear the hint of one in my home. If you have no accusations, the subject of Lord Lawton is closed.
Who was the lucky photographer, Lady Lockridge? He did a beautiful job.
You think so, do you? Well, if I ever see him again, perhaps I'll convey your sentiments. Given his clientele, I'm sure he couldn't care less for the good opinion of a man like you.
Might I say your decorator was inspired, Lady Lockridge? Did he take guidance from you?
Followed my instructions to the letter. As it happens, I have impeccable taste. I could have been a designer if it weren't below my station.
What a superb instrument. A Guarneri, isn't it?
To a true artist, the instrument is but a tool. Do you play, Mr. Holmes?
I dabble, Lady Lockridge. Unlike yourself, my meagre talent cannot conceal my incompetence.
I'm sure it cannot. But I was not always a master, Mr. Holmes. The musical bounty you hear now is the fruit of arduous practice. Do likewise, and you may one day hope to approach my ability.
I'll look forward to that. You are a rare and flexible musician, I perceive.
Given my technique, I would have been a superb pianist. But my inspiration is consumed by the violin.
You must favour us with a selection. I'm sure Dr. Watson would think real music a wonderful change.
Those who possess the gift must share it with the less fortunate, Mr. Holmes. Noblesse oblige. And I would play for you now. But my energies are currently devoted to mastering a troublesome Paganini etude.
Another time would suit.
But as you press so fervently, I shouldn't like to disappoint you. perhaps a little Paganini, as you insist. I can't think what's wrong with this instrument. It doesn't seem to care for Paganini. You must excuse me. I have to return to my etude.
Perhaps it would help if I played Lord Lawton's part.
It might. You couldn't play worse than he. You see, it's a hodgepodge.
My hat, Lady Lockridge. You've set yourself two very difficult pieces. All will be well with time and practice.
I doubt it, Mr. Holmes. Far from well. My artistic soul has been vexed and discommoded. I am displeased. The Mozart is merely challenging, but the etude is a heartache. Either Paganini was a fool, or he has been erroneously transcribed. There are simply too many notes. This piece is entirely unplayable.
Might I presume to offer my assistance?
I can't imagine how you might help.
If I may borrow the score, I shall return.
Take it, by all means, before I rip it to shreds.
Come along, Watson. The game's afoot.
Quite so, Holmes.
Lady Cordelia, I may have discovered where Paganini went wrong.
Indeed? I knew it. Show me. I must know his wicked folly.
The etude requires a very unorthodox fingering. It's quite bizarre, most eccentric. It violates every convention a master like yourself could be expected to observe.
Show it, show it.
May I?
The transcriptor is a torturer and an idiot. I told Lawton at least a dozen times it had to be wrong. I'd like to wring his neck. Thank you, Mr. Holmes, for pointing out the error of his ways.
Might you now tell me, my lady, why Lord Lawton has been reluctant to speak with me?
Caution, Mr. Holmes. Simple prudence. Lord Lawton is on a very short tether. The peccadilloes, financial encumbrances and legal obligations of his past meet me everywhere in town. He must avoid untoward entanglements of any sort or imperil his marriage prospects. He may regard you as a threat to his expectations.
But I bear him no ill will. I intend him no harm.
I dare say. But the road to oblivion is paved with good intentions. You are trouble incarnate, Mr. Holmes. Troubles employ you. They nurture you. And I'll wager you almost always leave trouble in your wake. Now, I must practice. You can see yourselves out.
What can you tell me about Lord Lawton's man, Jenkins?
He's too forward by half for starters. Lord Lawton allows him to play billiards, for heaven's sake. A prescription for encouraging a servant to get above himself.
Perhaps they enjoy the competition.
Nonsense. It's an unhealthy passion. I've told Jenkins that his behaviour is unseemly. He continues to spite me. When we combine households, he'll be looking for work, sans references.
Lady Lockridge, who is Mr. Hargrove?
Discovered a secret, have you? I suppose you've earned it. Edward Hargrove, Mount Street, is the demi-monde's current darling. Dubious clientele. Persistent, disagreeable rumours. But Lawton insisted. And he did a good job. Still, a woman of my standing and position can't afford to be associated with such a person. He's not unimpeachably respectable.